There is a powerful truth that every dreamer, every struggler, every achiever must come to embrace. Success is never found by staring at the horizon, wishing for the sunrise. It is forged in the darkness when no one is watching, when the only thing you have is your work, your effort, and your willingness to show up consistently. The world has conditioned many of us to chase results titles, awards, money, recognition. But this is the trap that leads to frustration, burnout, and disappointment. Results are not within your full control. They depend on timing, circumstances, and external forces. But work, effort, dedication, those belong to you. If you can shift your focus away from results and instead become obsessed with the work itself, you will discover an unstoppable source of energy, discipline, and resilience. Think of the greatest breakthroughs in history. Rarely were they accomplished by people who spent their days worrying about applause or recognition. Instead, they poured themselves into the process. They loved the craft, they trusted the grind, and they found satisfaction in doing the work day after day. Imagine a sculptor who dreams of carving a masterpiece. If all he does is stand before the stone, picturing the final image and worrying whether the world will praise it, nothing will happen. But when he picks up the chisel and strikes the stone, again and again, imperfectly at first, consistently over time, the masterpiece reveals itself. The sculptor cannot control the opinions of others, but he can control the movement of his hands and the persistence of his labor. This truth is not just philosophical, it is deeply practical. Results are deceptive because they come later. If you base your motivation on outcomes, you will always live in the future, never in the present. You will judge yourself by things you cannot yet see, and this creates anxiety. Work, on the other hand, anchors you to the now. When you are engaged in the process, when you are given everything the task in front of you, you feel alive. You stop asking, when will I get there? And instead ask, how well can I do this right now? That mindset alone separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. To understand this idea in action, let us look at one of the most inspiring examples from modern history, Rosa Parks. On December 1st, 1955, in Montgomery, Alabama, she did something seemingly small but profoundly courageous. She refused to give up her bus seat to a white passenger. To some, it may have appeared to be a spontaneous act of defiance. But in reality, it was the result of years of inner strength, quiet resilience, and a commitment to doing what was right, regardless of recognition or outcome. Rosa Parks was not obsessed with whether her action would become famous. She was not calculating the political impact or imagining statues in her honor. She was simply dedicated to the principle of dignity and justice in that very moment. She chose to do the work of standing up to oppression, even if it meant sitting down on that bus. The results that followed, sparking the Montgomery Bus Boycott, igniting the civil rights movement, inspiring millions, were monumental. But Rosa Parks did not act with the outcome in mind. She acted with the work of her conscience in her heart. Her story teaches us a critical lesson. If you obsess over the work doing what is right, doing what is necessary, the results will take care of themselves. But if you obsess over results while ignoring the work, you will accomplish nothing. So let us redefine obsession. Society often paints obsession as unhealthy, as if giving everything to your craft means losing balance. But there is a difference between toxic obsession with results and empowering obsession with the process. One drains you because you are chasing what you cannot control. The other energizes you because it is rooted in your daily actions. Rosa Parks did not wake up that day imagining she would become the mother of the civil rights movement. She woke up determined to live by principle, and when the moment came, she committed to the work of resistance. When you shift your mindset in this way, you unlock something rare: consistency. Most people quit not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they get discouraged when results don't show up quickly. If you go to the gym for 2 weeks and don't see visible muscles, you quit. If you work on a project for a month and no one notices, you abandon it. But if your obsession is the work itself, you will keep going even without immediate results. And then, ironically, results will come but only as a byproduct of your relentless dedication. Rosa Parks' act of courage looked small at the time, but because she was consistent in her values and her actions, it ignited a movement that changed history. This is where true strength lies, not in waiting for results to validate you, but in letting the work itself define you. When you wake up every day and say, I am going to pour my energy into this task, regardless of recognition, regardless of applause, regardless of outcomes, you become unstoppable. You no longer depend on external validation to feel worthy. You create meaning through the process. Results, when they come, will only be a bonus. So, the next time you feel frustrated that your dreams seem far away, ask yourself, am I obsessed with the outcome, or am I devoted to the work? If your answer is the latter, you are already winning. Rosa Parks was not chasing fame. She was chasing dignity, principle, and justice. Her victory was not just in the results, but in her courage to act in that moment. If she could hold to the work, so can you. The path of greatness is never paved with instant rewards. It is littered with quiet sacrifices, unseen struggles, and countless hours where no one claps for you. This is why most people give up. They expect the reward to come too soon, and when it doesn't, they stop. But those who are willing to fall in love with the grind, those who can find joy in the repetition of effort, are the ones who build legacies. The results that everyone else admires are only the surface. The real story is written in the hidden labor that came before. Let's return to Rosa Parks for a moment. Many believe her act of defiance was simply the frustration of a tired woman on a bus. That's a myth. Rosa Parks was not just tired from a day's work. She was tired of years of injustice. She had been quietly working with the NAACP, investigating cases of racial discrimination, and mentoring young people long before her famous stand. Her courage was not born in a single instant. It was cultivated in the work she did daily, away from cameras and headlines. She was obsessed with the mission, not the recognition. That is why, when the moment came, she was ready. Her years of quiet work prepared her for her moment of greatness. This is the same principle that applies to you and me. Opportunities will come, but they will not announce themselves. They will not give you time to prepare once they arrive. You must be obsessed with the process today, so that when destiny calls tomorrow, you are ready. Imagine if Rosa Parks had only focused on the results. If she had thought, what difference will this make? I am just one person. She might have given up her seat, and history would be different. But because she was anchored in the daily work of fighting injustice, she could act in alignment with her values. The danger of obsessing over results is that it blinds you to the significance of small actions. Results whisper, unless it changes everything, it's worthless. Work whispers, every small step matters. The first mindset leads to paralysis, the second to progress. Rosa Parks' refusal seemed small, even invisible at the time, but it became the seed of a revolution. Likewise, your work today, no matter how small, can have consequences beyond what you can imagine. But you will never know unless you commit to doing it. When you look at anyone who has achieved greatness, the same pattern emerges. They did not start by chasing glory. They started by doing the work when no one cared. Athletes train in empty gyms. Writers scribble in notebooks no one reads. Entrepreneurs experiment with ideas that fail countless times before one succeeds. If they had tied their identity to immediate results, they would have quit. But because they tied their identity to the work, they persisted. Rosa Parks is celebrated today not because she sought attention, but because she stayed consistent in her fight for justice even when it was invisible. There is another danger in obsessing over results. It makes you anxious about failure. If all you want is the outcome, failure feels like death. But if you value the work, failure becomes feedback. It becomes a teacher. Rosa Parks had faced rejection and setbacks before her iconic stand. She had seen cases of injustice dismissed, efforts ignored, and change delayed. But she did not stop. Her measure of success was not whether the world immediately changed, but whether she remained faithful to the work. That's why her act carried so much weight. It was the fruit of years of endurance. Now, let's make this personal. Look at your own life. What are you working toward? Maybe it's a business, a career, an art form, or personal growth. Ask yourself honestly, are you only showing up when results are visible? Or are you willing to show up every day, even when no one notices? The truth is, if you only work when you see results, you will never see big results. But if you work regardless of results, you will eventually produce something that surprises even you. The story of Rosa Parks also teaches us another profound truth. Obsession with work creates courage. When you are devoted to the process, you are less concerned with the consequences. Rosa Parks did not refuse her seat because she was fearless. She refused because she was faithful to the work of justice. Fear was there, but it did not control her. When you are anchored in work, fear loses its grip. You no longer calculate, what if I fail? Instead, you ask, what is the right thing to do right now? That is the kind of mindset that creates movements. Let me give you another example. Think of a musician practicing scales. The audience sees the concert and thinks, what talent! But the truth lies in the countless hours of unseen repetition. The musician was not practicing for applause. They were practicing because they loved the work. Rosa Parks was not standing for applause. She was standing for principle. And you too must find that principle, that craft, that mission you can dedicate yourself to regardless of immediate payoff. So how do you apply this mindset? First, redefine success. Success is not in the outcome. It is in the effort. If you write one page today, that is success. If you train one more hour, that is success. If you resist giving up your seat to injustice, that is success. The results will come later, but success must be measured now. Second, embrace repetition. The world celebrates breakthroughs, but breakthroughs are built on countless repetitions of the basics. Rosa Parks did not wake up one day ready to defy injustice. She lived it every day until it became part of her. Finally, trust the unseen. Just because you cannot measure progress instantly does not mean it isn't happening. Rosa Parks' action seemed small, but it sparked a fire. Your actions may seem invisible, but they may inspire someone, shift a mindset, or plant a seed that grows in the future. Do the work with faith that it matters, even when you cannot see the result immediately. When you become obsessed with the work, you liberate yourself from the tyranny of results. You stop waiting for validation and start creating it. Rosa Parks' story is not just about civil rights. It is about the power of one person obsessed with the work of justice. She reminds us that greatness is not about chasing recognition. It is about doing what is right, consistently, until the results arrive. There is a freedom that comes when you stop chasing results and start loving the work. Results are temporary. They fade, they change. They can be taken away. But the person you become through the work that remains. Results can give you a trophy, but work can give you character. Results can make you popular for a moment, but work can make you powerful for a lifetime. This is why those who are obsessed with the process often outlast those who are obsessed with the outcome. The outcome may disappear, but the discipline and resilience built through the process stay forever. Rosa Parks' life after her famous stand proves this truth. Many people think her story ended with that bus ride, but it was only the beginning. The boycott lasted over a year, filled with threats, hardships, and struggles. Parks herself lost her job, faced harassment, and endured tremendous pressure. If she had only been obsessed with the result, the hope of instant change, she might have grown discouraged when things became difficult. But her obsession was deeper. She was committed to the work of justice, even when it cost her comfort. That is why her influence lasted far beyond a single moment. It shaped decades of struggle and inspired generations. You must ask yourself, are you willing to pay the price of commitment? Results often look glamorous, but the work is gritty. The applause feels good, but the process is lonely. If you are only after the applause, you will quit when the loneliness comes. But if you are obsessed with the work, you will endure because the work itself gives you fulfillment. Rosa Parks faced a year of resistance, not knowing when or if victory would come. Yet she kept going, and the result was not just the desegregation of buses. It was a ripple effect that changed the nation. Think of the countless people who have started something but never finished. They gave up because results didn't arrive on their timeline. But history is not shaped by those who quit. It is shaped by those who persist. Results take time because transformation is never instant. A seed planted today does not bloom tomorrow. But that doesn't mean the work of watering it is wasted. Rosa Parks watered her seed of courage, and though it took time, it grew into a movement. Your work may feel invisible now, but if you remain consistent, it will bear fruit. This principle applies in every field. A student who studies diligently without worrying about grades develops knowledge that lasts a lifetime. An athlete who trains passionately without obsessing over medals builds a body and mind that outlasts competition. An entrepreneur who focuses on solving real problems instead of chasing quick profit creates businesses that stand the test of time. Results may come and go, but the love of the work sustains you. The irony is that results often come faster when you stop obsessing over them. Why? Because obsession with results creates pressure and fear, while obsession with work creates focus and flow. When you are free from the need to prove yourself, you can give your full energy to the task. Rosa Parks was not acting under pressure to become a symbol. She was simply faithful to the work of justice in that moment. That authenticity gave her action the power to resonate across the world. The other gift of being obsessed with work is resilience. Life will always bring setbacks. If you are tied to results, setbacks will crush you. But if you are tied to work, setbacks become part of the journey. Rosa Parks lost her job and faced immense difficulties after her stand. If her measure of success was comfort or recognition, she would have been broken. But because her measure of success was her commitment to justice, she endured. That is the resilience you must cultivate, where your motivation is anchored so deeply in the process that no storm can uproot it. Now, let's be honest. This path is not easy. It requires humility to work without recognition. It requires patience to keep going when progress is slow. It requires courage to stand firm when no one else does. But history proves that those who pay this price leave the greatest legacy. Rosa Parks could have chosen comfort over courage. She could have chosen results over work. But because she chose work, she gave the world a story that still inspires millions today. So, what does this mean for you right now? It means you must find your bus seat, that space where your values and your actions meet. It may not be dramatic, it may not make headlines, but if you stay faithful to the work, it will matter. Do not underestimate the power of small daily acts. A habit practiced every day becomes a strength. A discipline maintained over time becomes a legacy. Rosa Parks did not wait for a perfect moment. She created one by being faithful in an ordinary moment. Here is the ultimate truth. Results are not your responsibility. Work is. You cannot control the applause, but you can control the effort. You cannot control how fast the world changes, but you can control whether you live with integrity. Rosa Parks understood this. She did not calculate the outcome. She committed to the action, and because of that, the world changed. When you become obsessed with the work, you will find that life itself becomes richer. You will no longer live in the frustration of not yet. You will live in the power of right now. You will not wake up asking, when will success come? You will wake up asking, what can I give to the work today? That is how movements are born. That is how dreams are realized. That is how legacies are built. So, let Rosa Parks' story be more than a lesson in history. Let it be a mirror for your own life. She showed us that one person focused on the work and not the result can spark a revolution. You may not be fighting segregation, but you are fighting your own battles, dreams to chase, challenges to overcome, values to stand for. Obsess over the work, and you will find the strength to endure. Obsess over the work, and you will inspire others without even trying. Obsess over the work, and one day you will look back, not at the trophies you earned, but at the person you became. And that will be the greatest result of all.